the status quo here has been that it's okay to discriminate against Dave McMillan. The Anti-Discrimination Act, it applies to everyone other than Dave McMillan. So let's look at this from a eugenics perspective. What is eugenics? Eugenics is like when the government starts to treat people like they are animals and they're being bred, and then that they should be selectively bred in a particular way. Okay. And then there is so what eventuates with that type of thinking is what has happened here in Caloundra. You end up with a racial tribunal or a eugenics tribunal who therefore decide whether or not you meet the racial criterion or not. Okay. So the very scary thing is there was Jewish racial charts during the Second World War, which showed whether or not somebody was a Jew through their family connection. So my family's name is in the Abraham's book. Okay. Which means I have Jewish heritage, confirmed. And I have the DNA to support it. The German Jewish side and all the history, right? So Deegan James Grime has received all types of bullying his whole entire life from people because of the appearance of his mum and him and his family members, because they're either really, really short or really, really tall, right? They're like midgets or giants. So his whole life, he's had people telling him that he's genetically dysfunctional. And then he went to another country where there was a command that are very influenced by a particular political party that I'm not going to mention here, who embrace Adolf Hitler's philosophy and eugenics. So I have been a target of a government eugenics program. Are you concerned? You're talking about the color of your fucking skin and like your racial identity and all this. Are you not concerned that the Australian government are running programs similar to what the Falun Gong, that the Chinese government does to the Falun Gong? Are you concerned about that? Okay, so even if I had AIDS, even if I had STDs or something, which I don't, you legally can't discriminate, especially when it comes to a store, right? Or a place of business. So let's go over that. What's David McMillan's office? What's he do over there? Okay. So you can see here, these women, right? They are creating huge trouble, international trouble, like disrespect, doing stuff. I'll accuse him of this because there's a South African lady over there, a hostile non-state actor that is being encouraged by a hostile state actor, Deegan James Grime, to call me diseased and STD'd and like stomach ulcered and all this stuff. Okay. So the Anti-Discrimination Act, right? The Anti-Discrimination Act of 1991 makes it unlawful to treat a person unfairly because of their sex, relationship and parental status, race, religious belief or activity, political belief or activity, impairment, trade, union activity, lawful sexual activity, pregnancy, breastfeeding needs, family responsibilities, gender identity, sexuality, and age. So this lady joked with me about my pregnancy and breastfeeding needs today on the line. She and I had a joke, okay? And then this white South African lady came in, and then she accused me of impairment and of being diseased. So I had to go and take this genetic statement from the Queensland Fertility Group and show them, like, my build and my height and the fact that I can't drink alcohol. My body can't process alcohol, and the fact that my body can't process dairy product, and that when I was young, I was very fat. So what a lot of you guys don't understand is what I have, maybe 1 in 66 in the population in Queensland also have it. So a lot of people that you see that they just look swollen and fat, which is like a lot of Australian women and a lot of Australian men, right? They think there's something wrong with me because I don't look swollen and fat. I don't look like I'm retaining like a whole bunch of starch, flour, right? White flour and stuff, like the flour they use over here. It's like fucking cocaine flour in really starchy bread foods, like the type of sandwiches you get at maybe a rest stop that aren't well made. The ones. There's some that are really well made here in Australia, but there's some that aren't. But anyway, so the end result is it's like so because of all that flour, you end up fat, and then the wine, and then the food and everything. So even the ladies that work there, okay, the way that you look, okay, and then so what you're doing is, and so it's also against the law to treat a person unfairly because they are linked to someone from one of these groups. So sex, relationship, parental status, my ex, race, religious belief, political belief, Vietnam and America, right? And the Labor Party bullshit, impairment. They think I'm retarded or something, so they can. So Deegan Grime thinks Dave is impaired, so it's funny. I'm not, but his line has been Dave is impaired. So when we're breaking every fucking law on our, it's hilarious. That's why it's hilarious. So it's against the law to treat a person unfairly because they are linked to someone from one of these groups. Race discrimination means a person is treated less favorably because of their race. Sometimes this unfair treatment can be against the law. Under the Queensland Anti-Discrimination Act of 1991, race has a broad meaning and includes colour, descent, or national or ethnic origin. Race discrimination is against the law for a range of activities. The more relevant for licensees are if a person is purchasing goods or services in a shop, hotels, cafes, and other places, applying for employment or employed at licensed venues, renting accommodation or motel rooms. So this was brought in around the time that the lady from South Africa, her people were fighting Nelson Mandela and saying, hey, you C-word, you sit down and you do what the Sefa, the white South African tells you to do. Okay? And then she's going, hey, this dirty syphilitic person here, Deegan Grime, the Kiwi, the other white supremacist has just told me that I have to say something to this. Okay, the Sefa is here. There's a fucking old white Sefa bitch here. Okay? So, the Anti-Discrimination Act, it exists because of fucking Sefas like me. Okay? Australia before had to boycott South Africa because the South Africans had fucking apartheid. Right? So, aren't you happy that you have created and fostered the same environment that the Lithuanian Jews, all of these different people, right? Anne Frank, right? How funny is this? This is like fucking Anne Frank, dude. But we're doing it on Facebook. We're fucking with Mark Zuckerberg. Deacon Grime and the Caloundra fucking Einsat group and are more powerful than fucking Mark Zuckerberg. Right, Mark? Ain't that their fucking attitude, dude? So, Mark Zuckerberg, under their racial classification, do you survive or do you get the cross? I don't get the tick of survive. I get the cross, right? Because of the Funk Stackelroth family, Bratic family connection. Okay. Because of that, because my family's name is included in the descendants of those in the Hebrew Bible. Okay. So, Deegan, people have been telling me that I'm a defect my whole fucking life. Okay. Because I have this genetic DNA thing. My grandpa was a soldier and all this. So when I endlessly listen to World War II shit, do you think that I'm thinking like I'm Hitler when I'm listening to stuff about Hitler, or I'm Stalin? Let's get this fucking right. You see this here? My grandfather was Highland Division. When I'm looking at World War II, I'm looking at World War II from the fucking perspective of Scottish Highland divisions that fought in the Second World War. The people that started the war against the Nazis, like my grandpa, this was their unit, and that they painted it on in France later, the Highland Division. Highway decorators, once they took back France, they painted that everywhere. So my grandfather fought. My grandfather, right? So my grandfather, he was a career soldier, and then he worked at Woolwich Arsenal, and then he ended up as part of the phony war because he was a non-commissioned officer. My grandfather was posted on near the Ardennes, right, on the Maginot Line. And my grandfather, he met King Leopold the Second, I think, of Belgium, right, just before the Second World War, like 2 weeks before the fucking Germans overran the Ardennes, and then Leopold capitulated. My grandfather and his unit were inspected by them. Okay. My grandfather had royal blood. So it's a concern that it doesn't matter what blood or anything. It doesn't matter if from anyone's perspective, right? If you have dog DNA or rat DNA from their racial supremacist perspective, okay? Deegan is thinking Dave McMillan is tall and skinny and his kids and all this shit and all this stuff. We don't want people like this guy and his intelligence and all this. We don't want people like that. There's something genetically incorrect with him that we need our Einsat group and to take him down. That's what it is. So when I read about the Einsat group and or listen about the Einsat group, and it is because I am used to being hunted by the Einsat group. And here you saw today I was hunted by the Einsat group, and I was hunted by the Einsat group, and before had my teeth busted by the Einsat group. And so Caloundra is the Einsat group, and everybody's white or Kiwi who's licked their way into becoming number one here in Caloundra in fucking Copland. So they've been running around telling this woman, right? This guy, you can't date him. He's off limits because he's fucking got STDs. He's racially inferior and he's related to America. So we're going to human sacrifice him. So you saw the Einsat group and they decided to human sacrifice me on the 1st of March. Okay. There's these people fucking coming after me for ages. And I didn't know that there was the stuff that they had in the background that people could see that they were framing about me. Straight up, they've been trying to murder me. Straight up. And like, okay, so the woman that so before Blondie and Christine are people that fucking support me. Before, what I said was that Rory Flynn took me to this party, and then there was a lady that started Me Too, and then anyways, I could have probably hooked up with her, right, and been in a relationship type of thing. But what I worked out after is that Anthony Bourdain killed himself because of a relationship with that woman that Rory introduced me to's best friend. People related, and I'm not blaming Rory for anything like this. Rory's a Democrat and she's a celebrity. But other people that I know that are related to them have introduced me to women who have played the Asia Argento game with me that are connected with the Me Too people and stuff. And in my humble opinion, right, Michael Hutchins was murdered, okay, as was Anthony Bourdain. And those people were saying trippy ass shit about particular political figures before they died. Right? So what we're trying to deal with is a political reality of the death group. And the death group, they have been encouraged by the pro-Palestine movement. They've been encouraged by the Russia-Ukraine war. So do I believe that Moscow should be firing missiles into Kiev and Kiev should be firing missiles into Moscow? No. You should have given the war up. The only reason the war hasn't stopped is because it's being fueled by NATO and the people that want to undermine Donald Trump. They want to keep that there. They want to keep that nuclear hair fucking trigger right there. Okay? So if racial selection is part of the QPS criteria, which it has been proven to, if there is a unit that's deliberately stealing people's rights within the government, undermining people that we are taxpayers and we're paying for, why, after I spoke out about hostile non-state actors and hostile state actors conspiring together to create negative PR about me and about the United States from Caloundra as their way of saying fuck you to Donald Trump, like the chemist here today. That's fuck you, Donald Trump. That's what they're doing. Okay? So I want you to understand that if you want to have a political future here, you have to actually go out and do something. So with me, I've went out and I've created things. Okay, I got stabbed in the back by my side, and then it changed my identity. But I just realized that I didn't have anything in common with them anyway. So if you think that the Anti-Discrimination Act applies for you against me and not the other way around because of my racial identity. Okay, so my older brother Ross, he'll know, and all my other brothers. So the McMillans, right? My older siblings, they have native Canadian blood from the McMillans and the Bells and the Highland Clearances and British Columbia and John, who went west, McMillan. Okay. And then I have Aboriginal and Jewish blood. Make matters worse from a fucking eugenicist perspective on my mum's side, but we're mostly Scottish. Okay, and then they're also half English. It doesn't matter where you're from. Like everybody in my family's got some mixed up racial identity, but we're Scottish originally. Okay? So my way of arguing, looking at things is very British. It's English in many ways and then Scottish in many ways, but my dad was a result of, being born in Woolwich, coming from fucking a Scottish and an English and a Canadian background, and then living in Australia, making Australia home, and then loving and believing in this country and making me love and believe in this country. Okay. So we have to stop that type of Einstein group and behavior. Okay. Good work on the passing Daniel Morecambe's law today and Jack's law this week. Great work, everybody. Thank you very much. This is David McMillan, and it's